Democratic learning. Now you go back to experience, I understand that, but what's democratic learning? I mean,
that would be students really having a voice and choice in their learning. It's almost like a differentiator. I think of like the actual strategy that I think about that is like a tic-tac-toe choice board where you're talking, you want kids to focus on
choosing.
Right.
But what do you, I mean, I hate to say this, I don't teach in public school, but what do they do then with the
Well, the thing is, like, with the tic-tac-toe, I want to focus on that strategy in particular. The point of it is, as the choice of voice, is that you got to let this team that they want to have a show. You need to have rigor. So the standards, those are just, yes, so by doing a tic-tac-toe, you're saying, all right, we're going to focus on these standards, but you have a choice. We're going to show your mastery. So you still, as a teacher, may build the foundation. Here the main foundation you got to build is foundation. But then here's a way you're going to master. So that's one example. It's, I mean, the democratic learning concept is messy. But that's what teacher control is. You still have to have that framework to build. That's an outstanding question. All right, about 30 seconds. 30. All right, 10 seconds. 10. All right, ready? Now, what I was going to do, and then I looked at the time, I decided on the fly, you'll have to do that at the fly, your lessons, and figure out, okay, this is not working, or I really want to make sure they document their responses to make sure there's rigor with this lesson. I've got the relationship part, right? They're working and talking. I need to have the rigor part. I want them to document their answers. So I had given each table 3 sticky notes, but I didn't tell you what it's about, right? So you got to be suspenseful as a teacher too. What's this going to be? All right. So what you were going to do, but I'm going to have to can it just because of the time and everything like that, and we got to move on, is that I was going to say, all right, now at the table, write down 1 square, 1 triangle, 1 circle, and then somebody gets to go up here as the group reporter and slap it up here under each shape. All right. And if I wanted to document it even further, I'd say, all right, and make sure you write your names on it, just your initials. All right, so it doesn't take up the whole space. So that way, as a teacher, I can have a record of, all right, what did my kids understand, or what did they still have questions about? All right, so if you had a reading activity in social studies, then you could do it that way and say, all right, well, group such and such, which had those kids in it, this is how they feel about this reading activity we're doing right now, what questions they still have. All right, but it's still social. Okay, so I have to get some other things off my chest. Sorry. This is so I don't forget. If I don't write it down, I'll just go. Obviously, this kind of activity, like I said, with this professional development is key. Stay connected beyond today. Stay connected beyond today. Some of you are from the same school, I get it. Some of you are from different schools, but you're still working on the same stuff. With my work, like I said, it's great because I get to go around the country and talk to different schools and everything like that, but I'm always troubled by the fact that I'll go to a school system and they have 3 middle schools. Each middle school is doing its own thing, and the teachers are working so hard in each of those buildings, but they're working too hard. If you could just stay connected, email each other. Say, hey, I've got this strategy. I'm a 6th grade language arts teacher in my school. What are you doing with your 6th grade class? And do it through email, do it through Twitter, do it through Facebook. However you can, stay connected. stay connected beyond your physical learning. All right, there you go. So, who else needs to know this young characteristics, or the characteristics of young adolescents? Who else needs to know this information? Parents and the kids themselves, right? And administrators too. Don't forget those folks too. And your central office folks. All right. So sometimes with parents in particular, they don't know who their kids are anymore. All right. You know, I knew my kids back in 4th grade. I don't know who this new kid is. They got an attitude. They're not doing the things they used to do. You know, I used to be able to tell them to do his homework, and I'm not doing it. So I'm going upstairs and locking the door. What's that all about? What do I do? Is that appropriate? And you say, you know what, cognitively and physically, these kids are going through the most rapid change in their lives, right? What's the only other time that's as fast? Birth to 3 is the only other time that's as fast for physical and cognitive growth. All right, so, but that's troubling because, you know, if you have kids, right, you've got 2 boys, and the first thing that we want them to do, 2 things. We want them to, oh, I can't wait till they can learn how to walk and talk. But a lot of people treat middle school folks, middle school kids, come into class, I want you to sit down and be quiet, all right? Which is antithetical to their physical and cognitive development. They need the same type of social engagement and enrichment, all right? So now that you have this lined piece of paper, and I'm going to leave it here because if you know somebody else, it's a pay-it-forward moment. If someone else is not here today, but they need to know this, take it, give it to them. All right. Middle school kids are always under construction. Always under construction. All right? Most guys, adults even, have never really graduated from being 13. So we're still under construction. Okay? All right, so these are some things that you can do in your classroom with the changes that you're going to see with those kids. All right? Rapid irregular growth, hormonal changes, aggressive behavior, and sexual development. Okay, yeah, I'm going from around there. All right, so rapid irregular growth. Now, if you see a 6th grader who is 6 feet tall, and you see an 8th grader who is 5 feet tall, which one is more mature? Depends on your definition of maturity, right? Physical maturity, maybe, but I've had kids, 8th graders, who were like 6 feet 2, who cognitively, mature-wise, weren't ready yet. Okay, so don't take a kid who's like, you know, had 8th graders had mustaches, looked they were like ready to drive to school. All right, but those kids didn't understand some of the basic rules and how to govern themselves. So, with rapid irregular growth, as a teacher, explain those complaints about aches and pains and muscles and that kind of stuff. Incorporate movement in the lessons, hands-on activities, things like we did this morning. And be tolerant and find solutions for fidgeting, clothing with dress code kind of stuff. So fidgeting, like this kid. Oh, let me stab it. So this, right here. Oh, I got this pen. All right, I'm going to click on it. I got all these choices. Oh, great. I'm going to do, what are you talking about? What are we supposed to do? All right, they're too busy doing this. Don't give them this kind of pen. All right? The other kind of kid is this. You see that kid? All right. So you have 2 choices here. One is you can go over using your movement and proximity and say, don't even say anything. Right? They'll get the drift after a while. You may have to have a private conversation with them afterwards and say, listen, the reason I came over and did that to you is that pen thing. Can you do me a favor? I get it, but if you could just kind of not knock it. All right, that's one way. The other way is, a couple different ways. You know, like those mouse pads, right? Mouse pads. Put one right where the kid taps their pen. You'll never hear it. That way they still get to tap their pen, but you'll never hear it. Okay? Now, of course, if every kid in your classroom that says, oh, I want a mouse pad, then you got a whole other thing to deal with. But that can help. Kids that are fidgeting and always like, you know, they got their hands and stuff, they need to move. We used to take a piece of Velcro, just a tiny piece, and not both sides of the Velcro so they're ripping it and stuff, but one side and one piece of Velcro, either usually right there on top of their desk. So that way they can just have something tactile, just to kind of have their hand on. That's all they're really trying to satisfy. They just want to have some movement with their hand. I had other kids who had to have like a little squishy ball, all right? And that was fine too, as long as we understood between me and that kid that you're not going to throw it. You're not going to pass it to some other kid. This is your property from me to you. This is not a sharing time. You don't share this little squishy ball. This is yours. All right, so those are some things that you can do. Be aware of everybody wants to go to the nurse at the same time. Or, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Watch out for patterns because And I'm not trying to point specific genders out, but sometimes the girls all want to meet up in the bathroom at one time. All right? Or they'll figure out, hey, I'll tell you what, all right, you're going to be in Mrs. Johnson's class at 10:30, and I'm going to be in Mr. Roberts' class at 10:30. Okay, I'm going to go to the bathroom at 10:30. You go to the bathroom at 10:30. And then they'll go meet up in the bathroom and be gone for like 15 or 20 minutes, and you're like, what? All right? And they're like, oh, I understand, it's a long time. But they're in there having a talk, okay? And fellas do the same thing. So watch out for that. Watch out for those patterns, okay? Now, with that though, kids are going to have aches and pains and stuff like that because they're developing physically, but just be aware as a teacher when they're being genuine and when they're not. Hormonal, be aware of fatigue and moodiness. It's going to happen. And monitor their choices, sleep, nutrition, and how they talk to each other. Of course, you can't be in their home and gauge their sleep patterns, but it's a conversation you can have with a parent. I've been in many student support team meetings where I've asked parents, hey, where does your child do their homework? Oh, well, they're up in their room with their door locked. I'm like, well, how do you know that that's why they're up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, because are they really doing their homework? Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, so some of those conversations that you can have with a parent and a team, that can help. Aggressive behavior, all right, is they can get aggressive at times. So what you do with that? A little boxing boy. All right, connected to sports, connected to the community. All right, if you have student goal setting, that is one of the most wonderful things. Instead of you setting the goals for the kids and keeping track of their data, have them create their own student goal setting sheet. All right, and if you have kids that you know are into football or baseball or whatever, have them do their goal setting sheet as a football field. And say, hey, here we are on the 50-yard line. It's the middle of the 9 weeks. Now, what do you have to do between now and December to get to the end zone? And then they'll chart it up. Okay, oh, I say football. All right, can I make mine like the Falcons? Yeah, that's great. Or however they want to do it. Direct the jobs in the class of physical work. A lot like what Monty said. Get them to get around, do material specialists. Kids can pass out stuff. Use care, though, when using competition in lessons. I've seen kids really get excited, and I've seen other kids get really disappointed. Even when you're doing something as fun as Jeopardy. Right, with review games. Some kids are just like, well, I don't want to do this anymore because I know that team's going to win. All right, so you've got to make sure that you kind of set those norms about how to use competition. Monitor transition times and areas in the schoolhouse. It's not just about what happens in your classroom, but you have to monitor what goes out in the hallway too. So as you noticed, when I was starting the class, right, where was I? I was out there. Now, I had my eyes in here. Every once in a while, I poke back in and give you guys reminders, right? That's because that's good classroom practice. And I have a warm-up activity. All right, so I can share many examples of when I was, as a principal, walking around. I've been in classes where there was no teacher in the room for like 10 minutes, and the kids were bananas because there was no warm-up activity. If the teacher could have at least been in the hallway and the kids were doing a warm-up activity, I would have been fine. All right, so make sure you do that. Listen and de-escalate and be calm. Use these two objects on either side of your head. When a kid is in crisis, you barking at them is not going to make them feel more confident. All right? So, you have your classroom norms, and you tell them, listen, this is before the class, this is like one of the first things you do. Say, listen, we're all going to have bad days. That's all right. This is how we're going to deal with it when you have a bad day. We're going to remind everybody about our classroom norms that are listed up here. I want you to look at that. That's the first place you look. If you're in crisis, say, okay, where am I in terms of our classroom norms? And then I'm going to come talk to you just very quietly. We're going to figure out what's going on. And we'll figure out a plan for you to re-enter our classroom. Okay, I'm not going to kick you out because I need you here. You are amazing. You're an awesome person. I need you in my classroom. Today, can you please be here? But this is what we need to do. All right? Okay. Sexual development, maybe I shouldn't get into that at this point because we don't have enough time. But you're not the one to handle all that. There are professionals in the building who are trained to help kids deal with their sexual issues and sexual behavior and stuff like that. So if you hear information, don't just say, well, that's not my job. All right, go tell somebody. All right, go tell somebody. Okay. Cognitive and intellectual growth. All right, they are going to have a regular brain growth. We got that. Okay. Expect fluctuations, especially at specific times of the year. Okay, August, I'm excited to be here. Got my friends here. All right, that's cool, right? And some kids are like, school, great. All right, you interrupted my summertime. Remember that for some kids, school can be an interruption of summertime. But for some kids, school is the only stable place they've got. So they're so excited to see their friends again because, man, home for me just isn't what it is for y'all. Okay, so I'm happy to be here in the schoolhouse. Okay, So, model metacognition. Show that mistakes are part of the process. Whenever I taught the writing process to my kids, when we did a pre-write, I had an overhead transparency. And I would bring in my overhead transparency of my pre-write. It was only halfway done. And I'd say, guys, listen, I was trying to do this homework last night, and I was really struggling with my pre-write. Can you help me out? This is what I've got right now. Let's brainstorm together, because I really need your help. And I would show that I was struggling with it. And then I'd write my first draft, and I'd bring that in too, and say, listen guys, I'm going to give you all my copies of my first draft. It's only a page. Can you give me some, like, what details do I need to add? It's really, you play like you don't know what you're doing. That's kind of a dangerous game to play, but you have to be vulnerable a little bit, all right? Expect short-term attention span, so you got to chunk your lessons and give time to press. You're going to press them with stuff, press them with information, press them with what you want to do, and then release. You got to give them some release time. Student goal setting, expect forgetfulness, provide reminder, visual support. Okay, so that's why I always, and I would say please do this type of thing. Date, agenda, on the board, every place, every day, same place. Homework, same place, every day. Okay, essential questions, every day, same place. Enduring understandings. What's the difference between, what's an essential question, what's an enduring understanding? This is the stuff that you should take away with you, like for life. This is the stuff that's related to our unit. See what I'm saying? So you're a little different. So you got to think big and say, all right, this is what I want. That's what you should do. All right. It's 11:45. Goodness gracious. All right, now, I knew that was going to happen, though. I knew that was going to happen. So, if you want this PowerPoint, because it's got like lots of other information about what to do with each of these in your classroom. And I'll be building upon this discussion throughout the rest of the day, kind of, sort of. All right? More on the social growth, more of that, what's in your classroom. But this is, if you want to email me, pick up the phone and call me, and I will send you anything and everything that I can that will help you in your classroom. I would say the enduring understandings for this session, model the expectations that you want. If you want kids to act happy, if you want kids to talk nicely to each other, you better talk nicely to the adults in the building. I've been to too many schools where the hallway behavior is like this. And they're passing each other in the hallway. No one says good morning, no one says hello, but they have a positive behavior intervention system where they want kids to act that way. All right, so model the expectations that you want. Practice the routines and the norms that you want. Don't assume that middle school kids know how to do all the regular routines. All right, some people think, oh, that's an elementary thing. Let's practice our quiet time. Okay, that's not an elementary thing. That's a middle school thing. You need to practice the routines that you want. So one of the first things you'll need to do when you have your own classroom is decide, okay, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to have a routine? How am I going to teach these routines to kids? Build and maintain the relationships that you want. All right, so what kinds of things are you going to do with kids? Not just at the beginning of the year as an icebreaker or a warm-up or anything like that, but what are you going to do with kids every single day to build and maintain those relationships? And relationships with parents and relationships with other teachers. Those relationships are key. And last but not least, be the effective, not just an effective teacher, be an amazing teacher. Be the effective, amazing teacher that they deserve. They don't have another year for you to figure it out. They don't have another year for you to figure it out. Okay, they're waiting for you to be the best teacher that you can be. All right? And it's not going to be easy. My first year of teaching, it was a struggle. Okay? But I did some more professional learning on my own. I enrolled in some classes that I needed to take, and it really helped me out. All right, so don't stop learning after you graduated from the program that you're in. Keep on learning. All right, so I know that was a quick talk. Any questions, any comments, any ideas just from this opening thing? Thanks.